My name is Michael Brand. I'm the Director of the Art Gallery of New South Wales in Sydney, in Australia. Today's event is about the Art Gallery of New South Wales returning to Nepal a sculpture from our collection that was given to us in the year 2000, but the following year we discovered it had been illegally removed from Ratneshwor Temple here in Patan. And so over those years we've talked with our Nepali colleagues about how to get it back to Nepal. And this week, finally, as you see, the work is back here in Kathmandu, and we've had this ceremony at the Patan Museum. The significance is that it's an original part of this 13th century temple in Patan called Ratneshwar. It's a very beautiful carving in wood of a yakshi, and it's an important symbol of a piece of Nepali cultural heritage returning home to Nepal, having been taken illegally. I think it was taken from Patan in the 1970s. Then we don't know exactly what happened, but then it ended up in a private collection of a gentleman who lived between England and Australia. And upon his death, he gave the work to the Art Gallery of New South Wales. So it was a gift to us. Yes, look, it starts a good conversation. It builds relationships. It also shows, like at the Patan Museum, that Nepal has a very fine museum here. But each object, they always have a different story. There are different conditions, different amounts of evidence. We were lucky with this one that there was a photograph taken in the 1970s, which sort of made it easier to recognize. In not all cases do you have all that information. I think it was making the very formal arrangements. We have had a long conversation with our colleagues in Nepal, but when you decide to return something, you have to work out, well, who do you return it to? How does it come back? How does it come in through customs? Where does it go on display? Because the ownership has to be transferred from the Art Gallery of New South Wales to somebody in Nepal. Sometimes it can be the government of a country, sometimes it's a museum, sometimes it's a temple. So that was probably where a lot of the time was taken to work out those details. It hasn't happened in terms of the Art Gallery of New South Wales. There was one object we returned to India, which was a sculpture that had belonged to a temple in South India. But it does happen, because if you think about it, generally buildings are outdoors. Works of art in a museum are much easier to protect, but sometimes, unfortunately, on buildings they're more exposed and things can be taken. So it's always good to try to get them back to where they belong. Well, I think first of all, it's a bit of a changing understanding in the art museum world, where more research is done into the provenance of a work. Now, provenance meaning where the work has been from the day it was created till the current day. We're now much more aware of that. In the past, maybe people didn't want to know, but also sometimes you don't know. It's impossible to find any concrete evidence, which is why it's very lucky with this one, there's a photograph. So I think the significance is that we are all working together to do more research and then to build relationships with art museums and departments of archaeology in countries where the works have come from. And I think today, Australia has a very large Nepali population now, so I think it's a very beautiful symbol of that relationship between Nepal and Australia. I would advise viewers to come to Kathmandu, come to Patan, and come to wherever it's going to be in the future, maybe at the Patan Museum, maybe at Ratneshwar Temple. But the Patan Museum, where we are now, is a very beautiful art museum, and I think everyone should come and visit it. My pleasure.